Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Freddy's Ready podcast, episode 21. I'm excited. We got a big weekend ahead of us, right? We got a very big weekend ahead of us in terms of combat sports. We have UFC. We have two big boxing fights that we're going to cover. One which I didn't prepare for, but I'm going to look it up. We're going to get some good feedback, which is Gilberto Ramirez versus David Benavidez, but I'm going to cover that probably as the second to last subject. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, we're going to have a spectacular weekend, right? And it's from morning to the night. So Benavidez is going to fight in the night. Obviously, they're going to fight towards the end. They're going to make a banger fight. And then we also have the early cards, which is going to be the UFC, which is JDM headlining, as well as Carlos Prates. And we're also going to have a big fight in Japan with Junto Nakatani versus Naoya Inoue. And I kind of want to get into the UFC one first, just because we're going to not blow by it. But there is, that's the one that I'm excited for, that matchup. We have a lot of good matchups going on. A lot of good matchups. All three headliners of each card is going to be great. But to get them into the main card, we got some notable fighters, right? We got Tim Elliott versus Steve Erceg, which is gonna be a good featured fight. You got two guys who I don't want to say are what you would call gatekeepers. Steve Erceg, I believe last year or 2 years ago, was a title contender. He was somebody who was on the verge of winning a title shot, right? On the verge of winning a title as the number 9 ranked contender, 7 versus Alexander Pantoja. Then he went on that losing streak, found himself getting a victory. And Tim Elliott in the same boat, right? He's been bouncing around from top contenders, been facing a lot of notable fighters. Both guys are coming off a victory. So this fight, in my opinion, is going to be a fight that's going to get both of these fighters back into the top 10 matchup. Both these fighters are ranked, I believe, 12 and 13, 12 and 14. So a win here puts you back in the top 10. You can ask for top 10 victory. If not, you're probably looking at an unranked fighter. Prospect that's going to come into the matchup, into the UFC, that's going to look for a number. That's probably who you're going to fight next. Other than that, you're probably going to get a top 10 matchup if you win. So there's some implications coming out of this fight, right? You're going to have Erceg needing to prove himself, and then Elliott wants to remain amongst the elite. So, but in my opinion, I don't think this is going to be that competitive. I see Steve Erceg at home winning by unanimous decision, potentially stopping him, but I see Erceg kind of sticking behind his jab. He has a lethal check hook, very good boxing. Elliott's going to be a much more pressure fighter, but I think Erceg has the ability to counter him. I'm going to rock with Erceg by unanimous decision. Then we got Beneil Dariush and Quillian Salkid, and that one is interesting because Dariush has faced the elite of the elite, right? I believe he's gotten as close as number 4 as ranked in the lightweight division. He's fought the likes of Charles Oliveira, Arman Sarukian. He's fought Gamrot. He's fought... Who else has Dariush fought? I believe he fought Tony Ferguson. He's fought everybody you could think of, right? Dariush has been a guy who has not been afraid to really take on a task. And he has been stopped a couple times lately. I mean, it's not out of the ordinary because of the level of competition he's fighting. So, yeah, he's fought Renato Moicano, which he got a victory over. He's fought Arman Sarukian. He's fought Benoit Saint-Denis, who's ranked number 4 right now. He's fought Oliveira, like I mentioned earlier, Edson Barboza. So he's Michael Johnson, Michael Chiesa, Jim Miller. So he's fought names. He's been around the UFC for a long time. He's somebody that is looking to build, right? Looking to get back in the picture. But he's facing a guy in Quillian Salkid, who's probably the best prospect in all of UFC. If you think about it, Salkid's coming off a bunch of round 1 finishes. I don't think he's got out of the first round. He's stopping guys. He's showing guys that they're not on his level. Salkid has been calling for a ranked matchup for a long time. He's getting it against Dariush, and a guy who's a named opponent. I believe Dariush is ranked 12th. So I really don't see this fight being competitive either. I think Kid is gonna just blow by him. I think he's gonna stop him in round 1. To be honest, Dariush hasn't really been able to hold that chin up as of late. Every little, not little. I don't want to say little because that's a little, disrespectful. But he's definitely been caught numerous times and been sent to the ground, been stopped by Armand, Benoit Saint-Denis, and Charles Oliveira. Those are 3 elite guys, but I think Kid is going to be elite as well. He's young, fiery, very technical, can wrestle and can strike. So Dariush is in for a tough treat because Kid, excuse me, Kid is the new generation of MMA. He can do everything, and he's hungry. He's coming for something. Dariush is already towards the end of his career. So unless he can rejuvenate or get a last push towards the end of his career, I don't think this fight gets close. If he does, it'll be with the wrestling, but even then, Kid's gonna be too much for him. The pace, the output's gonna be just too much and overwhelm Dariush. Probably put him out sometime mid to later first round. Then we have the main event, which is JDM versus Carlos Prates, and this is a fight for a title shot. If you win this fight, you're probably gonna get back in the title picture, unless you're JDM. JDM's the only guy that I would say would get overruled because Michael Morales is out there, and you just got dominated by Islam. Prates being a new contender, a unfamiliar face, as one would say, is definitely in a title shot if he wins this fight. And this fight could be one of the best fights the UFC has made. The welterweight is completely stacked. The welterweight division, 1 through, I want to say 9, is full of killers. Those guys can all beat anybody on any given night, right? And then it's held at the throne by Islam Makhachev, who is a #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Rumors are he's going to fight Ian Gary. There's also rumors that he's going to fight Michael Morales. Either fight's going to be elite. It's going to be dangerous. Although I know everybody is more hyped about Michael Morales, I'm not. I think Islam would beat him. And Michael Morales is good at wrestling, but there's levels to this, guys. Michael Morales' striking is a little more wild. He's just so much bigger. And against an Islam whose wrestling is amongst the best, I don't know how much that'll favor him, right? If Islam can see your punches coming, it's not going to be a good night. That's what makes him and Taporia so special, or him and Ian Gary as well, is because they're master strikers and master boxers who can get close to you, throw combinations, throw lengthy combinations, and are very lethal with their kicks. A Michael Morales is much more wide stance boxer heavy, which allows Islam to get in on single legs. Islam can front kick him, lead leg kick him. That lead calf kick will be open for Islam, and Islam's a southpaw. I believe they're both southpaw actually, so I might be wrong there, but like I said, yeah, they're both southpaw, so that front leg kick could be there. That front leg kick can be there for both fighters, but Islam has that crushing grappling, crushing submission threats. So I don't think Islam would lose that fight. I think the Ian Gary fight makes much more sense for him. But we're getting out of the way. Go back to Process and JDM. So they're 2 high level strikers. These are probably 2 of the best strikers in all of the welterweight division, probably in the UFC. But they're very different. So Process is much more hands down, kickboxing, and dynamite. He could put you out. Whereas JDM is much more hands up boxing, and he has incredible combinations. He throws 4 to 5 punches per combination, and he has nasty power. But it's the fact that he's so crisp. He's so pure. Whereas Prates is a lot more rangier. And that's where it gets interesting, right? Is Prates going to eat up JDM's front leg, his body, and then he's going to try to snipe him from the outside? Or is JDM going to be the one pressuring, jabbing a lot more, blinding Prates with his front jab, probably throwing some kicks in there just to give him a different look, and then mixing the combinations? There's probably going to be no wrestling in this fight. I've never been more unsure about a pick in my life Because if we look at track record, JDM's been champion. But Prates has knocked out everybody else. Prates has knocked out Leon Edwards. He's knocked out he didn't knock him out, but he knocked out Leon Edwards. He knocked out Jeff Neal. He's beaten like a lot of big name fighters. I believe I'm missing somebody else. Let me just figure it out real quick. But track record wise, I know one guy's a champion, but Prates has beaten everybody, right? His loss has been Machado Gary. He knocked out Neil Magny. He knocked out Jinglang. So he's a knockout machine, right? You have to beat him by decision, or you have to catch him. You're not gonna out wrestle him. JDM's not gonna out wrestle him. JDM's not going to outpower Prates, right? Prates is too lengthy and he's too dynamic. So that's where the uncertainty comes from. You don't know where, because both guys can just have an on night and win, and then both guys can have an off night. I would rock with Prates by knockout, by TKO in the third round. The only reason I'm rocking with him is because he's knocked everybody else out. I would not, like I said, I'm not 100% sure. Like, if I had to bet a lot of money on this, I probably would stick away from this fight just because the uncertainty, like I said earlier. And JDM is just so defensively sound. He can box really, really well. Unless he catches Prates coming inwards, Prates is pretty much going to try to stay at that lengthy range and that kick distance. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Prates. I'm going to go with Prates by TKO. But that's going to be a great fight. I mean, I'm waking up at like 4 a.m. to watch that fight. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be real awesome. But then we move on to some boxing. We go to some boxing. We got Junto Nakatani versus Naoya Inoue. And this is probably one of the biggest boxing fights that's taking place. And this is taking place Saturday morning in Japan. I mean, we're speaking of, Saturday morning. It should be everywhere Saturday. I don't think any other fight day, any other country is going to be on a Sunday. But both fighters are 32-0 with a ton of finishes and highlight-worthy finishes. The Ring Magazine, which is, I think, the most, credible source and credible brand, has Inoue number 2 pound for pound behind it, Usyk, and then have Nakatani not too far behind at number 6. So you're getting a big matchup, right? You're getting big stardom in Japan, because both these guys are Japanese. Both these guys are in the lower weight classes with a ton of hype behind them. I mean, Nakatani's knockout against Maloney was just, I thought he killed him for a second, right? And then Inoue just suffocates everybody. He's been caught a couple of times with a left hand. Inoue has. So it's not like Nakatani can't get it done. Inoue is just so suffocating. He just suffocates guys. His combinations of power is just what eliminates people. For that reason is why I'm going to pick Inoue. I think Inoue wins in this 8th round just because he's bigger and he's stronger, right? Nakatani's not going to be stronger than him. Nakatani is a little bit slightly taller than him, but you look at body-wise, Nakatani's a lot more slimmer, where Inoue is a lot bulkier, and Inoue it's just lightning fast. I would not be surprised if Nakatani pulls it off. The only way I see Nakatani pulling this off, is if he catches Inoue early. If he catches him early, like similar to Ramon Cardenas did, Nakatani can put him out or put him down and just stick behind that. Stick behind a jab and a backhand that could just keep Inoue at bay. If he has trouble finding that backhand, that rear hand, which is that left hook or left straight, Nakatani's going to be in all sorts of trouble just because Inoue is much more diverse, right? Inoue can get finishes with many more punches, where Nakatani is levels above everybody else he's fought, but Inoue is much different. Nakatani needs to land a big punch early, in my opinion, to settle it down. If not, Inoue is going to control the pace and probably break him down. So, like I'm going to reiterate, like I said earlier, I got Inoue by round 8 in TKO. And then we have another banger card, right? We have the David Benavidez and Zurdo Gilberto Ramirez card. Both monsters. I mean, monsters in size, right? It's like astounding how big these guys are. The whole card, I have it right here. I know there's 4 main fights. There's Oscar Duarte. There is 3 main card. Armando Resendiz versus Jaime Munguia. and then David Benavidez versus Gilberto Ramirez. So I want to break down the Oscar Duarte card versus Angel Fierro. So Angel Fierro, or Fierro, it's Fierro, yeah, Fierro. Definitely built a name based off fighting Pitbull, right? He fought Pitbull, both went toe to toe, both got hit a lot. And Duarte has made his name off giving Ryan Garcia stuff his fight, and then just been bulldozing everybody since then. Very famous, he was about to fight for the world title. Richardson Hitchens pulled out of the fight, day of the fight, and left Duarte in a position where he has to fight a non-title fight now. And this, in my opinion, could not be a more favorable matchup for Duarte than any other fight. Fierro cannot move anywhere as near as a fighter that could give Duarte issues. Fierro loves to bang, but Duarte is a lethal puncher. Many fighters have said this is the hardest guy they faced. The guy that punches the hardest is Duarte. That is somebody you do not want to be stationary against. That is not somebody you want to mix punches with. Therefore, Duarte could just put a pounding on him, right? I am going to go with Duarte by TKO in the middle rounds. I want to say around the 7th round. Duarte will probably get him out of there. And Duarte's just going to go up. Duarte's going to get a title shot after this, whether it's with Richardson Hitchens again because of the trash talk and the animosity between the two, or he takes another route, fights a Dalton Smith maybe, fights somebody else, right? Fights somebody else for the title. But Duarte's going to put himself back in there. And then we have a title shot between Armando Reciendes versus Jaime Munguia. I believe Reciendes is the title holder. Yes, he is the WBA super middleweight champion. So his nickname Toro. Reciendes will defend his title against, his counterpart, Jaime Munguia, who is just gonna... This fight is destined for a back-and-forth fight. Both gentlemen, same in stature, 5'10", Reciendes, and then 6 foot is Munguia, both similar in reach, 72 to 69, I'm sorry. Both orthodox, both extremely young. Munguia 29, Reciendes 27. Records distinctly different. Munguia is much more experienced at 45-2, and Reciendes at 16-2. But Reciendes coming off a big victory over Caleb Plant. Munguia coming off a victory against the gentleman that knocked him out. I can't remember his name, but it's going to be a fun one. Munguia training in that staple with Canelo now, his trainer in Eddie Reynoso is much more technical, has made him much more patient, which is going to be interesting against Armando Reciendes, whereas Reciendes is going to come out and just bulldoze Munguia, right? Munguia has been caught a lot in his career. Can he come out and finish him? We don't know. So this fight is also very close. The odds, I'm not sure what the odds are. I think Reciendes is a slight favorite than Munguia. Let's check it out. Let's check out the odds. Both. Okay. So Reciendes is actually the underdog. So he's at plus 150, plus 170. Munguia is at minus 200, minus 215. So that's crazy. I actually thought Reciendes would have been the favorite. Munguia has definitely been in some wars, and I would have thought they would have favored Reciendes, but I guess not. I'm gonna rock with Munguia. Me personally, I've been a big fan of Munguia since he's been, fighting Derevyanchenko. He's fought other big name fighters. I like Munguia. I'm gonna rock with Munguia. I'm gonna go with Munguia by. I'm gonna go Munguia by TKO in the 10th round. Let's hope we get some finishes, right? I think Munguia stops him. It's gonna be a close fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, like I mentioned earlier. But Munguia, it's gonna be another fight with that staple in Canelo's team. Another fight with more patience. I'm gonna rock with Munguia. I don't think Reciendes has seen somebody like Munguia's punching power. He's fought Plant, but Munguia is probably gonna be a much younger, much more fresher fighter than Plant is. His Plant has been in the wars as well. So give me Munguia to win by TKO in the 10th round. Or 8th round, I said. And then we go to the main event, which is David Benavidez and Zurdo. This is interesting, right? So Benavidez being the undefeated 2-division champion, he's going to go up and fight a 3-division champion in Gilberto Ramirez. And this is Mexico versus Mexico, right? This is the Cinco de Mayo weekend showdown that everybody's been wanting to see. Both fighters have decorated careers, right? 41-0 for David Benavidez, two-time world champion. Ramirez being 48-1, three-time world champion, unified world champion at cruiserweight. So they both have had similar careers as Benavidez is just younger, but he's taking the same path as Zurdo, right? 168, 175, 200. Ramirez being the older fighter at 34, Benavidez being 29. This is a big task for them, for Benavidez, right? Benavidez has been calling out the names of Bivol, Beterbiev, Canelo, and he hasn't gotten the chances. I don't know why. I think because Benavidez presents a threat that many people don't possess, where Benavidez is much bigger than all these guys and has an output that those guys can't match, right? Both guys stand at 6'2". Zurdo being slightly taller at 6'2.5". Reach, very, like I said, very similar. 74.5 for Benavidez, 75 for Zurdo. Zurdo being southpaw, Benavidez being orthodox. It's gonna be a crazy fight. A lot of volume. Definitely a lot of volume. And Zurdo is much slower, in my opinion, than Benavidez. Benavidez's hand speed is always going to be superior than anybody else he faces, especially at those upper weight classes. But Zurdo possesses the timing, right? Zurdo possesses the precision that many fighters don't. Zurdo can couch him at any time. Benavidez can also overwhelm him at any time. And the footwork battle is going to be very similar. I think Zurdo favors the footwork just because he pivots more, and Benavidez is much more. Have you seen him in the ring? He walks with his heels. Right? He just likes to assert his dominance, assert his presence, and let you make a decision, and then he'll counter off that. Whereas Zurdo is much more, I'm going to throw a couple jabs at you, blind you with a left hand, then I'm going to pivot, try to throw some uppercuts, some hooks, all that good stuff. This is a tough fight to pick, man. I'm a big Benavidez guy, but I'm also a big Zurdo guy. This is a big task. How can Benavidez fight at that weight? He's a big dude. He's always been a big guy, very fluffy at 168. But Zurdo's also been, I believe Benavidez is the favorite. If I'm not mistaken, Benavidez is going to be the favorite by, I believe, I think it's 2 to, okay, so whoa. So Ramirez champion is the underdog of 225 and plus 320, while Benavidez is minus 310. Wow, he's a big, big underdog. Yeah, Benavidez is minus 500. Jesus. So, that's interesting. I didn't think it would be that drastic. You know what I mean? I thought it would have been a lot closer, similar to Munguia and Resendez. Wow. I'm gonna rock with. Wow, it's a toss up. I'm gonna go with Benavidez. I think Benavidez is gonna conquer another division, right? I think Benavidez's youth is gonna come into play. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a toss up in my opinion. I think the odds don't justify that. I really don't think the odds justify the level of competition, right? The odds minus 500, you're up there and almost shutting this guy down. Where I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a war. Both guys are familiar with each other. They've sparred before. Gilberto Ramirez can just throw an output that many others can't. I'm gonna go with Benavidez. I think Benavidez is gonna just overwhelm him with punches. And by overwhelm, I don't mean he's gonna knock him out. I think this goes to decision. But Benavidez is gonna win by picking up majority of the rounds. Majority of the power punches land. And I do see him being the aggressor. I do see Benavidez going forward because going backwards, Benavidez is not who he is. He's not the monstro that he is. Zurdo is much more the boxer that can move. So you'll see him moving his feet a lot more. Maybe Benavidez runs into something they didn't see coming, so Ramirez puts him down. But that isn't likely, as Benavidez is also one of the best defensive-minded boxers. Very intelligent. Benavidez is very intelligent, right? So yeah, final prediction, give me Benavidez by decision. If not, I'm not surprised if it goes either way. Like I said, I'm gonna really lay off making an aggressive pick there just because of the level of competition being so marginal. But yeah, give me Benavidez by decision. And then we're gonna take a little turn, talk about some MLB, you know what I mean? I like me some baseball. That's the sport that I grew up watching. And one thing I could see is teams are starting to look like themselves now. They're looking complete, right? The Mariners winning out of the 7 of their last 3 after starting a very brutal start. Braves continuing to dominate their opposition. The Phillies are just in a bombshell, right? The only reason they're not being looked at as that bad is because the Mets, their rival, are looking even worse. Um, I'm still waiting for the Tigers to make a separation from the rest of that division. Tigers are amongst the favorites to win the AL, in my opinion. It's them, Mariners, Yankees, and possibly Blue Jays. But that's pretty much the top 4 teams that I see in that division, in that league. But the Tigers are amongst the top 2, in my opinion. I don't think they're top 4. I think they're top 2, right? And then we have that crazy firing of the Red Sox, right? The Red Sox fired everybody. Just let me read you the list. These are the names that are fired. Alex Cora, manager. Bench coach Ramon Vasquez, fired. Hitting coach Peter Faults, fired. Third base coach Kyle Hudson, fired. Assistant head coach Dylan Lawson. And Major League hitting strategy coach Joe Cronin. And then I believe, what's that other gentleman's name? Veritek was moved. He was moved to a different position, interim head coach. They called him up from a AAA head coach. He'll be the acting interim head coach. I've seen a lot of rumors about this. Do I agree with the decision? I mean, your team is terrible after the beginning, but Cora's not a bad manager, man. I think Cora's a good manager. I really do. I think Cora's a guy who has his guys ready. He's always gonna have his guys ready to play. He's always gonna be in the title picture. He's an experienced manager. I believe he's won a World Series with those guys. He did. He won in 18. And to fire him doesn't make sense to me, right? You didn't really get the pieces you wanted around him. You didn't keep Bregman. You let other notable players walk. Duran hasn't been playing the way he's playing, so how are you going to put this on Cora? I do think he's the scapegoat in this situation. The Red Sox should not have fired him at all. He is somebody who's worthy of being there for a long time, a franchise manager. It's just the Red Sox didn't do anything, right? Crochet hasn't been doing what he's doing. How are you going to blame manager for that, right? Yeah, that was very odd firing. Very, very odd firing. And I mean, usually they'll get rid of the head coach, but to get rid of 6 coaches is very, very interesting. Very interesting, I could say. It's not often you see that. Seeing a bench coach, hitting coach, third base coach, assistant head coach, and major league hitting strategy coach get fired, along with the head coach, right? The manager. Very, very weird. We'll see as more stories come out. I know he was offered a position by another team, but he rejected it. But we'll see where he goes. Like I said, very good coach. I think Alex Cora is a very good coach. Speaking of my Dodgers are continuing to maintain a good level of play. I like my Dodgers. I like the way they're looking. Offensively, we've been hitting a little bit of sprout. We've been hitting a little bit of a wall. I would like to see them get a little bit more runs in. Ohtani's definitely taking a step back, but he is dominating on the bump. But a player that I like a lot, obviously Tyler Glasnow. I love Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow is somebody who I think on any month, any stretch of a time period, if healthy, can be the best pitcher in baseball. He was the ace against the Tampa Bay Rays. With the Tampa Rays, I'm sorry. Came over and, unfortunately, due to injury, didn't really pitch in that first year, but was dominant and clutch in other situations. The only thing Glasnow does struggle with is command. His command at times does get away from him. But when his fastball and his curveball are on, it's very hard to hit him. He has 97 from a very, top arm slot. So it disguises that curveball right away, right? When you see guys that are 3/4 sidearm, you can pick up that spin starting to drive that way. But when a fastball just drops on you and it's 20 miles an hour slow and you're like, oh, it was a curveball, because it's the same arm slot, it gets a lot more difficult. So Glasnow, who I believe is also undefeated, has been great. Or I believe he has 1 loss, but he's been great. But the player to look out for, in my opinion, and I really like him in the Dodgers, I do think he's going to continue to get better, and I do think he's going to eat up a lot of innings, is Justin Wrobleski. Wrobleski is a 4-0, undefeated, 1.5 ERA, 0.97 WHIP, 4.5 strikeouts per 9. He's very much of a contact hitter with 30 innings pitched. Very much of a contact pitcher. And one thing I was very impressed with was last outing, he did not have his stuff, right? I believe after 2 innings, he was at 50 pitches. He went 6 innings. That is great sign for the Dodgers to have and to see from Wrobleski. Somebody who can at such a young age and such a short time frame of experience, that's incredible to see. Somebody who doesn't have their best stuff and yet can come out and give you 6 innings, give you a quality start. I noticed that, and Oral Hershiser said that. He said, the great pitchers separate themselves because the days they don't have their stuff, they're still great, right? Anybody can be great on any given day. Anybody can be great. Anybody could have their stuff and be great. But it's when you don't have your stuff, how do you get out of the inning? How do you go 6 innings? How do you put yourself in a team position to win, right? Kershaw's had many times where he doesn't have that slider, but what? He finds a way to locate his fastball better. He finds a way to deceive the hitters a bit better. Paul Skeens, sometimes that fastball is, over the plate. He gets that splitter going. He gets that slider going. Tariq Skubal, 5-pitch mix. Sometimes maybe that changeup, what he's famously known for, isn't there. Starts locating fastball much better. Starts opening up a changeup again. Guys, the name of the game for pitching is deception, right? You have to deceive the hitter. It's hard to pitch. It's hard to pitch and hit, but obviously it's a lot easier to dominate the pitcher. When one pitch doesn't work, it really affects your other pitches. The main pitch you want working is your fastball. If your fastball is not working, your other pitches are going to suffer and diminish drastically. If your fastball cannot locate, let me put this in reference. If, let's say, for example, I throw 98, I have a wicked slider, nasty changeup, okay sinker, okay cutter. The minute my heater is no longer working, if my heater is, every time I throw it, it just flies out either up, down, in, out, I can't locate it, or it's down the middle, right? I don't know where it's going to go. What do hitters tend to do? I'm going to just lay off a fastball. He can't locate it, add to my cap, I'm going to start attacking his off speed, right? So you sit off speed, all of a sudden that slider that would have been perfectly placed either outside corner or buckled you down the middle, you're anticipating it. It's no longer going to get that buckle effect. A buckle comes because you're sitting on fastball and all of a sudden, oh, that curveball's coming right at me. Never mind. It's down the middle. That's what not having a fastball does. And that's where those great pitchers who don't have that can evolve and use other stuff. Where if their other stuff isn't working, but that heater is, it obviously, you can still maintain a good level of play. Top 5 pitchers in baseball right now have been Skubal, Ohtani, Skeens, Soriano from the Angels, and Cam Schlitter. This is subject to change, right? You do have guys like Shota Imanaga who are up there. You do have guys like Tyler Glass that have been performing really well. Yamamoto's always going to be in the mix. But those, in my opinion, have been the ones that have shown out the most. Ohtani has the smallest sample size at 30 innings pitched. But in those games, 0.60 ERA. Whip is 0.867. His strikeout is 10.2. Schlitter, on the other hand, 4-1, 1.51 ERA, 0.7 whip, 10.6 K per 9. That's crazy at 41 innings pitched. He has a big sample size and he's dominating. Skuball's always in the mix. Skuball's always a big strikeout pitcher. ERA is at 270, dipping up a little bit, but he's going to maintain that level of play. A lot of these guys will probably go up.